Hello and welcome to this very special edition of the Irish Wrestling Podcast. My name, of course, is Mark O'Brien. I'm joined today by what could be called the voice of European British wrestling interviewing and podcasting these days, Mr. Alex McCarthy. Alex, how are you doing this fine summer's evening?
You're joined by me and my extremely lively dog who just walks, so he should behave himself, but he's not. But otherwise, man, I'm good. I'm pumped for a really exciting period of wrestling, to be honest, for a UK fan, right? Like Money in the Bank is next week, which is mental how quickly that's come around. All In, of course, on the horizon as well. So a lot to be excited for me, not only for the events, but of course the opportunities that come with that, being able to talk to talent and do some of the reporting, which I enjoy most. So thanks for having me, man.
No problem at all. And listen, the more wholesome dog content, the better. Obviously, it'd be help with our viewers and things like that. So no, listen, absolutely more run-ins, the better. Listen, Alex, I won't keep you too long. Your kind of rise in profile from, I suppose, I would have come across you working through TalkSport, you're writing to the Daily Mail and various different channels, be it you're appearing on podcasts with Kenny McIntosh and Inside the Ropes, or doing one-off interviews with your own All Things Wrestling YouTube you had going for a while.
Yeah.
You're kind of your own progression through the media space to then I suppose you're now a sports editor with Daily Mail and you're covering, I suppose, normal sports is probably the best way to describe it. We've moved from a kayfabe world to the shoot world where you're covering things we all like. We've all grown up with, be it football, you're covering MMA, boxing, you're traveling here, there, and everywhere for UFC events as well. So listen, maybe give Irish fans a bit more background in terms of your own rise within the media space and your own background within wrestling as well.
Yeah, so I always trained to be a sports journalist. That's what I always wanted to be. I played football sort of semi-professionally, but once you realise you're not going to play it properly, what's the next best thing you can do? And I always quite quite good at English and stuff. So I thought maybe I'll get into writing about sport instead. Um, so the plan was to be like a football reporter, basically, and that was the journey through university and kind of the goal after that. I found it hard because I mucked around at university, as many people do. Didn't really get the work experience that I should have. I got a good grade, but I just didn't get any work experience when, in the Easter holidays, people are doing that. I wasn't. So around that time, after I left uni for about 4 years, I did not. Well, I didn't do nothing, but I did nothing in the journalism world. I was just working regular jobs, basically. So by the time I went back to college and got an NCTJ, which for those who don't know is a qualification to work for a newspaper, you learn shorthand, law, all that stuff. By the time I did that, I was back in the game, so to speak, and I got a break being an NBA writer, of all things, for GiveMeSport. And I remember in like my first couple of days there, one of the editors was talking about a WWE story and they had no one to do it. And I kind of just offhandedly said, like, I like wrestling. No, this is not what you've hired me for, but if there's any, if that's ever something that's needed, let me know. And that fruit didn't come to bear for like a good year. And then eventually there was an opportunity with Sheamus through 2K, and once I did that and it went well, that was kind of it. We were off to the races, and GiveMeSport wanted me to keep doing that. So I ended up spending about 3.5 years at GiveMeSport, about a year and a half of it as the WWE / like US editor. And I was going to WrestleManias and SummerSlam and things of that nature. And I think it was at WrestleMania 34, I think, New Orleans, where I met a couple of people from like the Sun and TalkSport, who they're under the same umbrella, they're owned by the same people, and they obviously we got on, they enjoyed my work. I would work with them later on, but they ended up saying we're looking for someone who can expand our online coverage for fight sports and wrestling. And I was like, well, that's up my alley. So it was obviously nice to kind of be recruited and not have to go looking for that job. And from there, man, at TalkSport, that was a real wild ride. That if things really took off there in that first year, I've peddled this kind of stat a few times and people have asked me, but when we got there, obviously they had done barely anything on wrestling. So it was like, I think they'd done maybe 30,000-ish clicks, 2018. And my first year there was 2019. And then we did it was just me as well. I didn't have a team doing it, and it was like 13 million clicks. So
Wow.
obviously, TalkSport were like, "Wow, okay, there's an audience here." And I kind of suggested, they were looking for ideas at the time for TalkSport 2. And I said, why not? Why not have a radio show? You know, a phone in. There's clearly an audience, so makes the set all the sense that we would do that. And it took a while, but then they went for it. And you know, what can I say about that? I never dreamed I would have a radio show.
Yeah.
You know, from the humble beginnings of 4 years doing nothing after
Yeah.
but then, yeah, and again, like I had no real radio experience, so it was all pretty wild. But I was writing the shows and kind of helping produce the shows while hosting them with Will, who was, as I mentioned earlier, someone I met in New Orleans. It was just a wild time, basically. But eventually from there, and I did love my time at TalkSport, but eventually, you know, in terms of being a reporter, I'd maybe hit a ceiling in terms of money. So Talk Wrestling was cancelled after 18 months. It was part of like a new strategy for TalkSport 2. They cancelled about 3 or 4 shows because they wanted to focus on more live sport. So can't be too upset. And then online, we were still doing bits and pieces, but they had scaled that back a bit. So my love started to wane a little. And that's when, you know, the role for Daily Mail come up. And then when the offer came in, it was it was just financially a lot better, right? That's a frank way to put it. And I've got, you know, 2 young kids to think about. It was kind of more than me being comfortable. And so I took it, and I've been there nearly a year now. First few months there, they weren't interested in wrestling, which again was a bit killer, but by around January, they kind of opened their mind, and then I went to WrestleMania this year, and obviously Money in the Bank coming up. Just dropped a Seth Rollins interview. So I know I've just been incredibly long-winded there, giving you my kind of 8-year history, but that's pretty much the journey from just taking what opportunities that I had and always put myself forward, and wrestling popped up basically. But one thing that I have learned down all these years is that there is an audience for wrestling.
Yeah, we're secret. Like we're behind the shadows here. Nobody can actually wants to admit they're wrestling fans, but we're out here. And listen, you're preaching to the choir here. I fired a bet in college as a pisshead as well. So listen, and I mucked about for a few years afterwards as well. So listen, no judgment on my end whatsoever. And listen, you're living the dream now. So listen, more power, more kudos to you. You miss all the shots you don't take, particularly putting yourself forward for all those roles. So huge respect for that, man. Listen, I met you last year outside Dallas. You're having a great time in Dallas in outside Monday Night Raw. Do you remember after?
I remember. I remember.
After Raw, it was piss and rain outside. It was like a thunderstorm. I was with Lee McAteer and the Progress guys, and we all had to peg it inside. But I just very briefly kind of throw that out there. But like, listen, that last WrestleMania rather over in Dallas, that's where I started piquing my own interest to kind of try to do something in the wrestling media space, not for like monetary gain, just for more creative fulfillment. Hence why I've kind of reached out to the likes of yourself. What's it been like for yourself to kind of see yourself as somebody who's just kind of put their hand up, say, oh, I'll do a bit of wrestling here and there, to suddenly being the guy who's breaking news in the UK for the likes of Money in the Bank coming over this summer, being the guy who, I remember like TalkSport, you were the guy that Drew McIntyre was coming into studio talks with, and there weren't that many outlets that are like a kind of a high level within the UK and Ireland anyway that were getting these media opportunities. What was that like for you to kind of grow from somebody who's chancing their arm trying to get media wrestling covered to being the go-to guy as such?
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is, and there has been quite a few, what I would call peers.
Yeah.
Stephanie Chase, Gary Cassidy, while he was doing it, was very good. Matty Paddock was very good. Ash Rose has been on the circuit for a while too. Like there's a lot of guys who have been kind of knocking around, putting the work in. But I guess a lot of people have sort of said to me, as you introduced it, that I was maybe one of the first people that I don't want to call it mainstream, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Acceptable, polite media is very almost the way to put it.
Well, I mean, it's like to put it on a level with like the national, the big national outlets And and I say the radio show definitely helped that because wrestlers were obviously interested to come on. You get a lot of TalkSport fans. They wanted to be a part of the show, and the show did have a bit of a lineage where it existed at like the turn of the millennium, way before I was like a TalkSport listener or anything. So to resurrect that was kind of a cool thing as well, but to make it new.
Yeah.
So in terms of the stature, I guess, of the things that we were doing at that point, yeah, man, it's been great to become that guy. I was able to break. UK people just generally don't break wrestling news, typically speaking, right?
Yeah.
Like it's an American thing.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. The company's over there, so to make contacts and all of that stuff. But to be able to break when Clash of the Castle was going to be at the Millennium Stadium. Yeah, I mean WWE was pissed off. They were really pissed off. But still, to be able to to give us, I guess, like the UK some credit is cool, and people like Matty and others, Gary and etc. For them to kind of say that they look to me as someone, then that's great. Like, obviously, I want everyone to, I want wrestling to be in the spotlight. I want people to do what they enjoy, because for many years it wasn't an avenue. And there wasn't something you could do in the UK. It was just Meltzer and Mike Johnson in the US, and that was it. So to be able to open a few doors is really cool if that's what people think I've done. Obviously it's turned out shit now, Louis Dangoor, but the
when you mentioned GiveMeSport, I was going to mention it, but go on,
yeah. I mean, obviously I was very proud of what I did at GiveMeSport. And then I left that job in the hands of somebody that I handpicked, and then when he left a few years later, he handpicked Louis, unfortunately. That's the way
things happen.
But again, things have come so far, I feel like, for UK wrestling, and I really hope it continues. And again, this is a great summer. I would, if anything, I would like to see more, because I can't dedicate my day-to-day life to it anymore. Right, I have to fit the interviews in around what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Because I don't really write anymore. So I would like to see somebody usurp me, if you like. I'd like to see somebody else pop up and do the work, basically. And there are, as I say, there are talented people out there. So
the written work you are putting out there, be it like your Seth Rollins interview you put out recently, I quite enjoyed in terms of you can really tell that first of all you are a trusted writer by WWE, but you're also then adding in questions at the end about say Bret Hart and stuff, and you're like, come on, you can see I'm still asking the questions I want to ask here. Do you know what I mean? There's a bit of give and take in that kind of relationship as well, and that very much comes across to a degree.
I think there always is, though.
And
I'm not gonna I know a lot of wrestlers by this point. You mentioned earlier Drew. I could do stuff with Drew without speaking to WWE. But just the way access works, people will understand. All of the Money in the Bank are coming up, and WWE and AEW, they like to speak to mainstream outlets, and it was the same when I was with TalkSport. It's kind of how it works, right? You pitch who you could do things with. I was pitching for The Undertaker for a long time. Believe me, that doesn't just happen. WWE don't just turn around and go, do you fancy a chat with The Undertaker? And again, I've at this point, when you've been doing it for a few years, as you alluded to, WWE do kind of build up a bit of a trust of you, but they also know what I'm about. And I feel like I've always felt, this is no one else's words but mine, that my strongest suit is my interviewing. And I've always had a penchant for asking questions that, I at least try to, questions that not everybody has either got the bollocks to ask or asked. And I just, before I spoke to Seth, it's funny because when I interviewed him, I think it was 2016 now, that's how long ago this is. I was one of the first people to ask him about Bret's comments. So it was kind of full circle. I thought to myself the other day before the chat, I Googled it. I'm pretty sure they've never spoken about that, right? If they've met since, and I thought they must have met since. They must have. So it's always quite cool to, you get loads of little ones like that. I remember it was only in my brain because we're talking about Seth, but Riddle and Seth had a big falling out, right? and I was like the first person to really get that out of Riddle, like what happened there. So it's definitely a conscious thing
Yeah.
of mine that I would encourage anyone. I mean, you seem like you're quite set, but I would encourage anyone to think of, if you're a fan, what do you want to know? I want to know what went
Yeah,
on.
yeah, 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 yeah,
These are things I want to know. So
yeah.
everyone else surely will too.
No, like, and definitely that definitely does come across in your pieces, be it like your Sammy, your AJ piece, the recent piece you've done with Daily Mail. There is like an integrity to your writing. It's not necessarily, say, for example, you go to a lot of the, say, AEW call-ins, media calls. A lot of the times the questions could be around like, why is your product so good? And there can be a bit more placating, or people trying to get something from the position themselves as being available for calls going forward. So there's a bit of
Sure.
that to it, but I think there's a level of integrity, particularly in the UK media, I quite appreciate when I'm reading wrestling writing. That definitely does shine through for yourself. I quite enjoy your Twitter activity as well. It's
Mm.
not particularly Twitter's toxic generally. That's just my opinion. But
Yeah, I
you make
agree.
a yeah, you had a bit of trouble over the weekend. Um, you make a point of kind of highlighting things you enjoy, and you make from what I can tell anyway, you don't make a point of highlighting things you don't enjoy. There's no need to fill up your feed with further toxicity. You made a joke over the weekend, and I saw it from afar, and I was like, oh god, this poor guy's gonna get lambasted for this. You made an offhand joke, and I found it very funny, and you were dead right about Samoa Joe's chops being
Oh,
likely
yeah,
heavier hand. Sorry, yeah,
that
heavier
was
handed than
yesterday.
yeah, exactly. Than Hangman Page's. To the point where I was kind of just scrolling through earlier, at the point where you had to delete your comments just from just like that level of
I, I
tribalism.
left I left the comments up. Sorry, I
Yeah,
just deleted the original tweet. I'll tell you why. Because it's easier, right? I in the space of about an hour, I think I'd replied to like, because even though in the very next reply you'll put exactly what you mean,
yeah,
people skip over that. They just read the first
yeah,
one,
yeah,
right, and you go, oh. So you find yourself going, you've misunderstood,
yeah,
or I haven't been clear, whatever, and you find yourself going, no, that's not what I meant. And then I thought to myself, I don't know why I'm doing. Why am I?
yeah,
Why am I explaining this?
yeah, yeah,
It's not even that serious, right? I thought I'll just get rid of it. The thing being there is that Hangman's
yeah,
obviously errant strike would have hurt.
yeah,
Samoa Joe's look even worse,
yeah,
even
yeah,
though they're not. That
yeah,
is the
yeah.
point.
Mm.
Uh, what are you gonna do? But
But
yeah,
I read it as you putting Samoa Joe over because Samoa Joe's a
I
badass, and
was exactly.
yeah, like he's Samoa Joe. It's great to see him positioned that again. And listen, we'll kind of say I'm obviously conscious of your time here now.
Well, we've got-
Obviously there's a huge amount of things coming up on the horizon, particularly in this part of the world, be it Money in the Bank. I'm really looking forward to your LA Night piece that's soon to come out, I believe, over the next coming days.
yes,
So
he was
listen,
great, man.
yeah, listen, even just from seeing him last night, and the pop he received, I'm so excited at the reception he'll get in the OT. I'll be over there myself. So listen, hugely excited
Oh,
for that.
you'll be there. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
listen, these are what summer holidays are wasted on.
let me know, man.
Yeah, I'll
Let
be
me
over
know.
next. Yeah, listen, I'm really looking forward to it. What's on the kind of your agenda, your calendar for the next coming week? I'm sure you'll be chock a block busy,
Oh,
flat out
yeah,
over the next while.
yeah. So again, like one of the main drivers for Daily Mail at the moment is like video content. So there's a mixture of me
Mm,
getting interviews sorted out and figured in for the week of
mm,
Money in the Bank. Obviously, I'll be at Money in the Bank and the SmackDown that precedes it. Um, Trying to get the Undertaker in the flesh. Obviously, he's doing a one-man
yeah.
show the night before Money in the Bank.
Hmm.
Um, I think WWE are putting on some various. Funnily enough, right? So I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago now, but British kind of wrestling Twitter had a good laugh at the bus, right? That
Yeah,
they're doing it again. They are putting a bus on. It's not moving this
yeah,
time. They've learned, but they're putting like a big red bus outside the O2 and inviting media to that.
okay.
Um, so I think there's just a lot of events I'm going to position myself at anyway
Amazing.
in London. Um, but yeah, it's I'm hoping to get people. The idea with the Daily Mail is that we're trying to get sort of podcasts
Yeah.
going. I have the one with Kenny, which I would ideally like
Mm,
to be, showcased on Daily Mail.
yeah.
That's the idea, and hopefully we're going to have a load of content from this week, 2 weeks that will really help. But excited about LA Knight first
Mm,
for sure. He Yeah, he's every bit as charismatic as you would imagine.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
and it was cool to see, even last night, the way he delivered that promo. And a lot of people said, "Oh, it was like rock-ish."
Yeah.
His cadence is like
Mm,
perfect, right?
mm,
And he's got that kind of fun trash talk that we haven't really had
yeah.
for a long time. I think he's come around at just the right time.
Yeah.
Um, I just know in typical WWE fashion, they're going to somehow not make it his time, but it should be. It
No,
should.
listen, and like he's Rock 1998 Rock. It's 25 years since we've had that kind of cadence as you talked about. Like
Yeah.
he's unbelievable in everything he does. Like I was immediately when I saw that, I was back watching his Eli Drake NWA promos last night with the shoes of the champion and things like that. So listen, I'm hugely excited for that. Is there anything else in particular you're hugely excited for in terms of be it the Bloodline match or Finn Balor, hopefully taking the title off Seth Rollins from an Irish perspective, or any other wild and wacky predictions on your end?
I mean, listen, I've been going to the O2 for 12 years, maybe, like
Hmm.
every year.
Yeah.
So before I was getting the comp tickets, right? I was paying to go every year. Um, and the Bloodline match is maybe legitimately the biggest match that I think WWE has brought to our shores
Yeah.
in that 12 years. Even anything you put on Clash at the Castle, I don't think is as big as this. It's the greatest story of the millennium. It's got Roman Reigns, who, for so long people
Mhm.
discussed whether he could be the guy that WWE clearly were forcing us to accept. He's
Yeah.
that and more now, right?
Yeah.
He is legitimately an
Oh,
all-time
he's
great
yeah.
because not only has he got the matches and the repertoire and he looks the part and he delivers and he's
Yeah.
got all the memorable moments like Austin and Rock do in different
Yeah.
ways, but he's
Mm,
got indelible moments and he's got now the career-defining story
yeah.
that will stand the test of time. People
Yeah.
will always remember this. To bring that here and to have that, which I presume will main event, that's crazy. It's good. I'm super excited for that just because once upon a time we wouldn't have got that. There was a time where it was insurrection
Yeah. Yeah.
and all of these like basically house shows as pay-per-views.
Yeah.
No more, no more, man. They take us
Mm,
seriously now, WWE, and I really believe that next year, not just because we've had quote unquote a big
mm,
five
yeah. Yeah.
pay-per-view, but All In being at Wembley, I suppose
Yeah.
won't hurt either.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go even bigger next year. Wait, stop.
Yeah. Listen, for Clash of the Castle last year, like I was in attendance. I loved it, but there was a sense of maybe somewhat of an anticlimax even on just beforehand because maybe due to the ticket prices or the the attendance wasn't quite as full as it could have been. Just people had a sense of apathy, I suppose towards it at the same time. But there is an indelible kind of sense of excitement that wasn't present last year. Like I think just be it from WWE stacking their card, hopefully to oppose AEW later in the summer. But yeah, that's just my own excitement. I'm absolutely buzzing for it at this point.
To be fair though, Clash of Castle, we did get the Dominic Hill turn,
Yeah, that was my favorite
you
part of
know,
the whole show. Yeah,
Solo's
yeah,
debut, which I
yeah,
know it was flat at the time because it was like,
yeah.
oh, but you look at it now, it's quite a big moment. Um,
Sheamus Gunther.
oh my
Yeah,
god, absolute banger. So, man, I think there was a lot to like about that show, but
yeah,
this now, the O2, of course, a much smaller venue, but it's going to be like a cauldron,
yeah,
right? Of like,
yeah, yeah,
I assume of like the right. I just, man, the atmosphere, which is it's
yeah,
a major reason I fall in love with wrestling in the first place. Going
yeah,
to
yeah.
those shows is like anything else.
Yeah. Like when I went to Dallas last year, be it for even independent shows, the Ring of Honor show, that really did kind of relight my own excitement in wrestling, and particularly those kind of more rabid crowds
You
where
know
people
what
are.
did that for me originally
Mm,
was the takeovers, and I missed them
oh wow, okay,
because those Mania weekend takeovers were unbelievable.
yeah,
Like the New Orleans one I went to was phenomenal. What other ones have I been to? Orlando. I
wow,
don't think what other WrestleManias I've been to now.
yeah. That's, I think I suppose part of that's also it's people your own age as well. It's not necessarily a family and kids shows. Those ones,
Yes,
it's a different atmosphere.
it's much more of the raucous kind of like turn of the millennium WWE crowds.
Yeah, yeah,
I've said this a lot, but that's a vital component of the show is
yeah,
a hot crowd because
yeah,
any moment without
yeah,
it, like LA Night last night
yeah,
it's kind of poor if it's just dead quiet, right? Everyone
yeah,
like, and it's the same with like the Usos you're out. Well, I'm
Yeah,
out too. If the crowd don't go bananas for it, it's just like. So yeah, it's a major part, and there was a real lull in WWE crowds for years, just because
oh
they.
yeah, yeah,
It's hard to blame them for some of them years. Um,
yeah,
it's undeniable now with business picking up.
yeah,
Seems like the passion's back, and you have to say a masterstroke as well, having these. I want to say pay-per-view, these PLEs
mm,
in different, like Puerto Rico.
yeah. That was
That's
unbelievable.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously we've got Money in the Bank now. We had Montreal earlier this year. Um, I think it's a magic thing because just doing a random show in,
Yeah,
I don't know anyone in Tennessee, but like
yeah.
I don't know, right? Like sometimes it just gets lost, whereas these hungry crowds are adding a
Mm.
lot to the product. I think.
Yeah, and it's actually like it's like kind of what the UFC do. They embrace it as a worldwide product, not just necessarily an American, because they're outside of the pay-per-view model as well. So they don't need to be putting on at 9 o'clock at night for whatever Eastern time or whatever it is over in the States. But listen, I won't keep you too much longer. I want to ask you one last thing.
Go on.
We're in the summer now, and you're working obviously in a broader sports role these days, and you're famously a Newcastle United fan. Now,
Famously,
it's
yeah.
famously Eddie Howe was meant to join my beloved Celtic last year or a couple of years ago, and he didn't. Thankfully, we got Ange Postecoglou, who's significantly better, but that's just my view anyway.
Are
What are
you
your?
uh, are you happy that Brendan's back?
I was very angry, and now I'm over the moon because we're going to hammer Rangers on a weekly basis, and we're probably going to win the Champions League. So,
I do understand the lingering resentment, but
yeah,
he's a very good manager.
yeah, like he didn't leave because of the Leicester. He left because he had a falling out with the board, who didn't want to pay 2 million for John McGinn. So listen, that's fair enough. And they went to Aston Villa, and he's doing unbelievably well. But listen, Newcastle United, what are your summer expectations? Obviously you're backed by Saudi Arabia, who are also back in WWE. So listen, who are you expecting to sign this summer? Messi maybe, or
Yeah.
anything? What?
You
Who's
know,
gonna?
it's a weird one, right? Because obviously, like, it doesn't feel good to be backed by Saudi.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, they're everywhere now. Like you'll say Newcastle fans. Before long, it's gonna be all of us. Like
yeah, yeah,
they're merging with the PGA. They're all these dodgy deals they're doing at the moment, man. Like
yeah,
just buying out half of Chelsea.
yeah.
Um, even boxing, they've signed Deontay Wilder, Usyk.
Jeez.
I think they're going to get Devin Haney. Before long, they're going to be
Yeah,
embedded in every sport, right? So, I mean, I'm one of them fans who think it's not really my job
yeah,
to,
yeah,
preach
yeah,
about who we're owned by.
yeah.
I supported them long before Saudi
Yeah.
were there, right? So, do I like it? No. Am I happy Mike Assey's gone? I'm not going to lie. Yes. So, double-edged sword. One of these days, I'm probably going to have to go over to Saudi for one of the WWE shows, and
Yeah, yeah,
when they see my tattoo at customs, they'll be like,
yeah,
Get that boy in."
yeah,
But yeah, it's really hard to say
yeah.
because the first transfer window we had, where we got like
Mm,
Dan Burn and Matty Target, I remember thinking that's a terrible window,
yeah,
right? And it was Chris Wood, and I thought, oh no, we're going down.
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought,
yeah,
and Eddie turned it right around.
yeah,
Players who were really poor,
yeah,
and Steve Bruce, which is the majority of them, he managed to make them find
yeah.
10 other gears. Obviously, Jolinton, a revelation. Guimaraes comes in and is an instant star. Fabian Shah, who I'd thought was a good player for many years, actually, shone
Yeah.
in a ball playing role under Eddie. Trippier
Mm,
came in. I know he got injured early, but
mm.
he made an immediate difference, and he got us some early points. So it's like Eddie Howe has the capability of
He's a
enhancing,
coach. He's a coach. Yeah,
developing a footballer.
yeah.
Like you said, yeah, very good coach, very good. In the spell between Bournemouth and us, I think he went away to Spain and like worked on his
Mm,
craft. And you can tell we've
mm.
got so much energy, we've got intensity. We play with that kind of hunger and excitement that was lacking on Tyneside for so long.
Yeah.
Like for years, I would just cling to like the only, when we had Hatton Ben Arthur, I'd cling to him. I was like, he's the only good
Yeah,
player. He's like,
yeah,
really good player to watch. And it was like Maxi was a bit like that.
yeah,
Maximum for a couple of years before Howell got there, it was, oh God, just get the ball to him because we've got
yeah,
nothing. Whereas now we're a much more, fluid, dynamic
yeah,
team. It's hard to say. I thought we were just going to go and grab Maddison. I thought that was a no-brainer, but now they're saying that he might be going to Spurs, or
I
that
saw that him and Harvey Barnes, yeah, the two of them might be going together over to Spurs to Ange, so that big hunky Australian man.
Yeah.
But listen, like, Newcastle, like I was speaking to somebody, the Sunderland fan recently. Like I've a lot of empathy for you because much like Celtic, you either deal in extreme highs or extreme lows. There's rarely anything in between. So listen, I genuinely do. Aside from Saudi money and all that kind of banter and whatnot, but I do wish you all the very best this season ahead. Alex, you've been hugely generous with your time. Aside from all these kind of huge shows coming from Money in the Bank and All In, you'll be flat out. Where can Irish wrestling fans find you if they want to keep in touch with you? If you want to follow any of your projects coming up this summer, be it through Daily Mail, Inside the Ropes, or whatnot?
Well, I mean, the hub, I guess, is Twitter. I don't use it as much as I did it when I was reporting on a day-to-day basis, but I still pop in if I see something cool. Hello, mate. Get out of it. If I still see something cool or I want to post my work, I will do that on Twitter. So, every interview you'll see will be on there. Normally, if it's video, you'll find it on Inside the Ropes YouTube channel. And of course, there's the podcast with Kenny as well, which you'll get the audio. Unfortunately, it wasn't on video. So you've got the written piece on Daily Mail and you've got the audio that'll be coming with Kenny. We are going to record tomorrow night. Basically, Twitter is the hub. Daily Mail and Daily Mail's TikTok will be the places to check out Money in the Bank. And man, I'm just, God, get out of there, boy. Man, I'm just really excited to get into this period basically and try and get some cool interviews. I'm fingers crossed some of the bigger names are going to be there doing I call it Radio Row, but it's like the junkets. So man, very, very excited for this period, and hopefully you guys can check out what I'm after.
Definitely, listen. I'm hugely excited to see your own content. Really excited to see how you get on with the Undertaker. I actually saw his show in Cardiff; it was really enjoyable. It was. Yeah, it was really, really good. It's very American, but it's very good.
I saw his Hall of Fame speech, and I assume it's not far removed from that.
It's a bit like he's a few kind of risky opinions and comments, but it's good. It's good fun. It's a good night out on a Friday. Like all your phones get taken off you before you go in, so no, there's no. But it is good fun. And it's a good way. I assume it's probably going to be the night before SmackDown, as it was in Cardiff or something. I
think it's before Money in the Bank. It's like in the afternoon. I believe.
Yeah, in Cardiff it was the day before Clash at the Castle, and it was kind of a good way to set you up for the weekend. So listen, it was really, really good, and I wish you all the best with that as well. Alex, you've been hugely generous with your time. I know you've got a million and one things going on at your end. So listen, thank you very, very much again once more.
No worries, brother. Make sure you catch up with me in London.
Oh, 100%. We're gonna get pissed. I'll see you later, man. All the best. Thank you.